Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs. Today is a very exciting quick tip for me because I'm giving myself chances to design stuff for me to wear in addition to showing you cool stuff. So that's like a win-win for both of us, I think. I haven't really made myself a garment that wasn't a sample of one of my patterns in a really long time. So I'm super excited. And if you remember from last Thursday, or even I mentioned that we were going to be doing a dress pattern, and we're going to use the a pattern that you have in your stash that's fitted. It could be, anything that you have that's got a bust start and it's fitted and you like it in terms of the fit of the bust. We're going to use it. So the cool thing is you don't have to start from scratch fitting. You can just use something you've already been working on. I'm going to use my perfectly fitted shirt sloper pattern. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to take your sloper, trace it, and then make the basic bodice pieces. I'm going to show you how to do that today, and I'm going to give you some tips for sort of having an eyeball view of how much your bust or how much room your bust will take on the paper and how to rotate a dart. So we're going to learn how to rotate a dart. We're going to learn how to just look at your bust shape on the flat pattern. We're going to design the new bodice pieces right on your sloper, a trace copy, and then we will cut those out and sew them together, and we'll get back together on Thursday and see how we did. It's always good to start with a sketch. So this is my sketch that I referred to during my quick tip, and it's a really good idea to have this sort of as a plan. That way it'll help keep you going in the direction that you want. One thing I want to mention is you can clearly see I'm not an artist. My sketches are quite frightening looking, and actually on this one I was using a pen, so I couldn't even erase. So I just want to encourage you, get out your sketchbook and start sketching. All right, so I just want to point out some of the changes I'm going to make. I don't like how on this dress the strap just goes like this and becomes a strap. So I'm going to make a shaped, I'm going to make this more shaped piece, and I'll show you when I work on the pattern. Also, this dress has crisscross straps. Those are a nightmare if you have, a bust to find a bra to make that work. So to make it bra friendly, which is part of working with your shape. I know that I want to wear a comfortable bra. I don't want to wear a strapless bra. So I'm going to make this a bra friendly dress, and I'm going to make straight straps, and I'm going to make sure they're wide enough, and I'm going to make sure that the back of the dress comes up high enough so that it covers my bra and I can be comfortable and wear this lovely sundress. So those are just the considerations that I'm putting into the pattern as I work with it on paper. I'm going to make sure that it can accommodate my regular bra. All right, so let's get started. All right, let's start by looking at my sketch. I drew a really simple flat sketch of my dress, and you'll notice I have an overlapping bodice here, and I've got all this dark pen because I was using a pen and not a pencil. I've got these circles which indicate the space my bust is going to take in this dress. And then you notice I've raised up the back to be more modest. So these are my sketches. I also like to make notes for myself with the pattern. So I know I'm going to have to rotate my dart down after I trim the length of the pattern, and I'll show you that. But anyway, so this is sort of how I start my design process. I draw a sketch, and then I sort of make bullet points of the design features. And if there's any pattern work that I want to remind myself of, or just to have a record, I'll do some flat pattern pieces, and then I'll just sort of draw on them so I can, have that as a guide or a reference. The first thing I did was trace my front and back shirt sloper. The first thing I did was I drew a circle over here that sort of represents my bust shape. That was the first thing I did. Then I started to work on the design of my bodice. I wanted to be sort of an empire waist, so I trimmed off I decided that my seam was going to be 3 inches above my natural waist. So I actually have already chopped those off. So here's my front piece that I chopped off. And here's my back piece that I chopped off, and I'll show you how to do that. Then after drawing my bust mound circle, I started to work on the design. And you'll notice I have the side seams lined up here. That's because it's really important to keep in mind how it's going to transition from front to back when you're designing, because you know, you could work with your front, but you might do something funny here, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness, it has to connect to my back. So to make it really easy, I just keep them side by side when I'm working. Front piece of my shirt slipper, and I only traced it to the actual waistline because that's all I need to use to make this dress. And the first decision I made was I want my empire waist, or my waistline edge, to be about 3 inches above my natural waist. So I'm just going to mark a 3-inch guide, and then I'm going to cut that off. So this is going to become the very top of my skirt piece when we work on that on Thursday. So I'm just going to make a note on here, front waistline, or front waist, just so I know what this is after I cut it off. And I'm going to put here maxi dress, and I'm just going to put the date. Today is 4/14/15, just so I can keep track of my pieces. All right. Back waist, maxi dress, 4/14/15. I'm gonna put that aside. If I were to connect these two darts, the tips of these two darts, I would get where my apex is. So my apex is right here. And for a DD cup, I would say a good size diameter circle would be 7 inches. So see where my 1/2 inch mark is? If you have a ruler that has holes in it, you could put a pin there to hold it like this at the 3.5 mark, and then you can just spin it around like so and just draw a circle. See how I'm doing that? I'm just spinning it on this pin. So I'm just spinning it around, and that's going to give me a circle. If you don't have a ruler that has holes in it, just line it up at the 3.5 and draw a line. Draw dashes like this. You don't need to have one with holes in it. You can just keep lining it up at 3.5. All right, so see, this is going to give me a nice idea of how much room my bust would take up against the fabric. And notice I have a pretty good margin between the base of my bust and where my seam is going to be. A lot of times a problem I have when I'm buying these kinds of dresses is the bottom edge of the seam between the bodice and the skirt is up too high, and it's actually sitting on the base of my bust. So I know I'm going to have lots of room here, which is good. All right, so I've got the shape of my bust. The next thing is I'm going to rotate my dart down. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to slash this upper leg of my dart, and then I'm going to slash this outer leg of my waist dart like this. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to pivot. I don't need to actually cut it out. I'm just going to pivot it under like this until it matches up like that. You get this weird little jog here because the dart ended over here. That's okay. That's just, you know, just leave that like that. So I've pivoted it until my dart closes, and it's lining up like that. And I'm just going to put a piece of tape there. All right, and I'm just going to put a piece of paper to fill in that hole, like this. And I'm just going to tape this whole thing shut. I'm just gonna reconnect my original side seam with the end of my side seam like this to true it up like that. To finish my bottom of my dart, I'm just going to connect those. Okay, but that will finish the bottom edge. Now my pattern is ready to design the shape. So I'm going to bring the back in, and I'm just going to fold the extra paper away from the side edge. I've already removed my seam allowances. I did not trace those in when I traced my pattern. And I'm just going to, the first thing you'll notice is my side seam is longer from the arm to here. And that's because when I do my full bust adjustment, it adds some extra length to the side seam, and I ease the front into the back in order to make more room on the side for my bust. That's another nice feature, which will give you a little bit more room on the side if you have a full bust. So I'm just going to make a note here that this, I'm just going to say gather front in to back. So I know I have to gather that and make that fit when I sew it together. I don't want my bra to show, so I'm going to start about 3/4 of an inch or so from my original armhole. And what I'm going to do, just to get started, is I'm just going to start to draw that guideline. And basically I just want to draw something that starts to come up into the front, but I also want it to go straight across the back. So I'm not going to draw really far across the back. I'm just going to sort of go like this, something like this. So I start to get that curved shape. And then I know from here straight across, I want this to be parallel to the floor. So I'm just going to measure what I have here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to do 4.5 inches over here, and I'm just going to connect that. My back is designed, basically. I'm going to close this dart. All right, so this amount right here is off. This whole pattern, this is not part of my pattern anymore. To get shape in my back, I'm just going to close this. Okay, so all I'm doing to finish my back, let me just do that really quickly, is I'm just going to cut into here, so you can see. I'm going to cut one of these lines on my dart, and I'm basically just going to shut that like this. All right, so that's going to create some shape for the back of my bodice, and I mean that's essentially what the back pattern piece is going to look like. So now that I've closed that, I don't need any of this. This is all extra. You could use it to plan your strap if you want, but basically this is my pattern piece, and I'm going to have to add my seam allowance up here, and then this is ready to sew to the front. All right, so again, I'm just going to continue my curve around the armhole like this. Oops. And then I'm going to continue it straight on up. So it's something like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, that I want to have my, I want to be about an inch away from this outer edge of my circle. So I'm going to start about here, and I'm just going to sort of make the outer edge, and see how I'm just dashing it in, like I'm just dashing. Okay, so there would be my overlap, and then I just want to curve back in towards my strap. So I'm just going to do something like that. Okay, so it's going to give me that nice shape. And I'm going to play with it, and I'm going to come up with, something. Excuse me. Something like that. And I can darken it in. Play with your shape. You know, maybe I don't want it so bumped up right there. So see how I'm sort of just modifying my shape? So you can play with that. Then I'll have 1.25 inches that it's going to overlap my edge, or 1.125 inches. So I'm just going to fill that in like this. Define the bottom edge of my strap. So it's going to be something like that. You know, so my bodice underneath is going to be something like that. Okay, so that's going to stop here, and then the strap will be the whole piece. I just want to show you that once you have this, then you want to just trace, for example, I'm just going to put this paper here, okay? I think I can just make it fit. I just want to show you what I mean by having individual pieces. I'm just going to quickly show you what I mean. I'm just going to trace it in pencil. So after you've designed your shape, okay, I know that this is going to be my strap piece is going to look like this. Okay, I'm not doing a perfect job. I just want to show you quick. Okay, so this becomes my strap piece, okay, traced neatly, and my bodice piece would just be this piece right here. So I would trace a bodice, I would trace a strap, and then in the back, you know, I cut it off already, but the whole thing about the back is this is just going to be an extension of your front. So you know, it's just going to be a straight piece, really. So once it goes from here, it's just going to be straight, you know, a straight piece. And you could probably decide if you want a shoulder seam or not. You know, you can leave a shoulder seam or not. But if you have your front strap, which looks like this, and you have a straight strap in the back, you can either sew them together at the side seam or, you know, make it all one piece. That's up to you. That's a quick how-to for designing on a bodice. And if you have questions, please feel free to, you know, shoot me an email, or, you know, you can also post comments on my blog. But on Thursday, I'm going to show you how this sews together and how you would work with it and fit it. And then we'll also work on the bottom of the dress.